I didn't plan on it. I didn't even expect them. They just showed up. It was a little past 10 p.m. when the doorbell rang. My husband had just gone upstairs to change into his pajamas. We'd had dinner, watched something forgettable on Netflix, and were both winding down for bed. When I opened the door, I wasn't prepared. There they were, his two coworkers. I'd met them before. Holiday party, office drinks, casual smiles that lasted just a little too long. And now they were at my door, holding a bottle of wine like it was nothing. They said they were just dropping something off. I smiled, said he was heading to bed. I should have closed the door right then, but I didn't. I stepped back. I let them in. He came back down for a minute. When he heard voices, gave them a quick hug, said something like, "Don't keep her up all night," and chuckled. They laughed, I laughed, and then he went back upstairs. Brushed his teeth, crawled into bed. 10 minutes later, he was snoring, just like every other night, but this wasn't like every other night. The three of us sat in the living room, the wine opened. The conversation was light at first, playful even. I kept glancing at the ceiling, listening for creaks, for movement, but it stayed quiet. They weren't supposed to stay, but I didn't ask them to leave. One of them moved closer. He brushed a crumb from my leg gently. Too gently. I didn't flinch. I didn't move away. Why? I still don't have an answer for that. Maybe I liked the attention. Maybe I was lonely in a way I hadn't admitted to myself. The second one chimed in, started talking about how my husband always talks about how lucky he is. I smiled politely, but something in his tone felt loaded. Then it happened. The first one placed his hand on mine, not forcefully, not rushed, just enough for me to notice it wasn't accidental. I looked at him, and I didn't say a word. Time felt weird after that. Slow, then fast. My heart raced, my throat tightened. My body responded before my mind could catch up. They weren't aggressive. They were calculated, gentle, like they knew I wouldn't say no. Like they'd been here before, just not physically. They took turns talking to me, touching my hand, brushing hair behind my ear, complimenting my laugh, my eyes. It was intimate but quiet, controlled. Like we all knew the rules, but no one was saying them out loud. And all the while, my husband was asleep upstairs. I could hear his breathing through the ceiling, that rhythm, that trust, and I still didn't stop it. I didn't say, "You need to leave." I didn't move. I didn't scream. I let it happen, and I let them stay. By the time they left, it was nearly 2 a.m. I locked the door slowly, like I was trying to delay the reality settling in. The living room still smelled like wine and cologne. My skin still felt warm. My heart felt wrong. I stood there, hand on the doorknob, asking myself, why didn't you stop them? And the truth, because part of me didn't want to. That part, the part I don't like to admit, exists. It craved something. Not just touch, validation, attention, to feel wanted. But now, I'm left with silence, with guilt, and a husband who still snores next to me like nothing's changed. Except everything has. I don't know if I'll ever tell him. I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself. But I know this. I crossed a line I can't uncross. They showed up, and I let them stay. That night didn't end when the door closed. It started haunting me after. I climbed the stairs slowly, every step heavier than the last. My hand trembled on the doorknob of our bedroom. I paused, listened. He was still asleep, breathing steady. Peaceful. He had no idea what I had just done. I slid under the covers, tried to mimic normal, tried to breathe like I hadn't just let 2 of his coworkers touch me like that. I faced away from him. I didn't deserve to look at his face. His arm reached over me in his sleep like it always did, protective, comforting, and it made me want to cry, not because I was afraid, but because he still trusted me. And I had broken something sacred. The next morning, everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. He made coffee, kissed my cheek, talked about a meeting he had. I nodded, smiled, pretended. Inside, I was screaming, and the worst part, no one would ever know, not him, not them, only me. And that's what made it worse, the silence, the secret, the way I could still hear their voices echoing in my head. A few days later, one of the coworkers sent a text, just 3 words, "That was fun." I stared at it, my fingers hovering over the screen, unsure what I was supposed to say. Delete it, respond, block him. But I didn't do anything, not yet, because in that moment I realized something terrifying. I didn't feel guilt in the way I expected. I felt empty. I started looking at my husband differently after that. Every kindness, every gesture, every laugh we shared, felt like I didn't deserve it anymore, and still, he had no idea. He still told people I was the best thing that ever happened to him. He still reached for my hand when we walked through the grocery store. He still brought me coffee on hard days, still defended me when I wasn't in the room, and all I could think about was how I betrayed that kind of love, not just by cheating, but by letting strangers take pieces of me that he had trusted were his. Weeks passed. I didn't see them again, at least not at our home, but I saw them in my memory, every night, when I closed my eyes, when I looked at the couch, when I passed the wine aisle. Sometimes betrayal isn't loud. It doesn't come with slammed doors or screaming matches. Sometimes it walks in quietly, smiles at you, and you let it stay. Just because you were weak or lonely or human, I don't know if I'll ever confess. I don't know if I want to destroy the version of me he believes in. But I do know this: that night changed me, and some part of me will never feel whole again. It's strange how the mind works after betrayal, especially when you're the one who caused it. I started questioning everything, not just the night it happened, but why it happened. Was I trying to punish him? Had I been lonely longer than I admitted? Was I looking for something I couldn't name? Because here's the truth: my husband didn't do anything wrong. He was kind, present, flawed, sure, but good. But maybe that was part of the problem, because while he was safe, I had grown numb, not because of him. Because of me. You can love someone and still feel empty. You can feel desired and still crave attention. You can be surrounded and still feel alone. And when the wrong opportunity arrives at the exact moment your walls are crumbling, you don't always slam the door shut. Sometimes you hold it open for just a moment, just long enough to ruin everything. I haven't seen those 2 since. No texts, no drop-ins, not even a glance at his office events. But I think they know. They know what they took, and I know what I gave. My husband still sleeps soundly, but I don't, not anymore. Every night, I stare at the ceiling the same way I did that night, listening to his breath, trying to find peace in it, trying to forgive myself for stealing something that wasn't mine to give away. You want to know what hurts the most? It's not the act, not the guilt, not even the fear of being found out. It's the way I still feel his love, even though I no longer feel worthy of it. I wear that smile he fell in love with. I cook the meals he likes. I hold his hand when we walk through stores, and every time I do, I wonder if he sees it, if he knows, not because I said a word, but because something in me has changed subtly, permanently. They showed up uninvited, but the truth is, I was the one who opened the door, and I don't know if I'll ever close it again. Not fully, not cleanly, not without scars, because that night wasn't just about 2 coworkers. It was about me, and the part of me I now have to live with. Every single day, sometimes I think about telling him, just blurting it out, over breakfast, or during a car ride, or in the quiet moments just before sleep. But I don't, not because I'm afraid of his reaction, but because I already know what I'd destroy. This marriage wasn't perfect, but it was real, and I shattered something real, for something that wasn't. Some days I look at him and wonder, would he have forgiven me? Would he have seen how lost I was? how disconnected I'd become from myself, or would he have just seen the act, the betrayal, the bodies involved and not the soul that fractured before it ever happened? I replay the night in my head more than I care to admit, not to relive it, but to punish myself, because guilt is a strange kind of shadow. It follows you even when no one else can see it. And for me, it shows up in the smallest ways, when he smiles and thanks me for loving him, when he says I'm the best thing that ever happened to him, when he picks up my favorite snack without me asking, when he brags about me to his friends. He does all this, and I'm just standing there smiling on the outside, but screaming on the inside. What they took from me that night wasn't just physical. They took my ability to feel clean, to feel whole, to feel like a woman who could be fully loved, without a secret eating her alive. You may be watching this and thinking, then why not confess? Why stay? Why lie every day? And maybe you're right. Maybe I should have walked away or confessed or given him the chance to choose. But I didn't, because part of me believes, if I can live every day trying to be the woman he already thinks I am, maybe that's its own kind of redemption. Not forgiveness, not erasure, but effort. So I stay. I love him the best I can. I try to be present. I try to give more than I take. But some nights I still hear the sound of them breathing behind me. I still feel the cold guilt sink into my skin. And I still wonder, if I hadn't let them in that night, would I still feel broken now? Would you have told him? Is silence mercy? Or is it just cowardice in disguise? Because this story isn't just mine anymore. Now that I've told it, it's ours. Sometimes I sit across from him at dinner and wonder if he ever looks at me and just knows, not because I said anything, but because there's a part of me that's distant now, detached, tainted in a way I can't wash clean. He once told me, there's nothing you could ever do that would make me stop loving you. And I believed him back then, but now when I hear those words echo in my memory, they don't comfort me, they crush me. Because I know he said them to the woman he thought I was, not the woman I've become. There's a different kind of loneliness that comes from loving someone who doesn't know who you really are anymore. Not because you changed, but because you hid the change. I smile, I cook, I kiss him good. Bye like I used to. But everything I do now feels like a cover-up, like I'm repainting a burned house instead of rebuilding it. There are moments I wish he'd find out, not to hurt him, but to set me free, to end the charade, to finally collapse from the weight of it all. But I also know, if he did find out, if he ever looked me in the eye with that kind of betrayal in his face, I don't think I'd survive it. So I walk this line, pretending, performing, punishing myself silently in the background of our happy life. Because even though they only stayed for one night, their presence never really left, not from the room, not from my skin, not from my soul. If you've never carried a secret like this, you won't understand the ache, and if you have, then maybe you know what it's like to live every day with the smile of a woman who looks whole but is breaking a little more inside every time she gets away with it. You know what no one tells you about cheating. It's not just the moment that breaks you. It's the days after, the weeks, the quiet mornings where nothing feels real anymore. I used to know who I was, a wife, a good woman, someone who made promises and kept them. Now, I feel like a stranger in my own skin, like the version of me my husband loves was buried that night. And now I'm just pretending to be her because I don't know how to be anyone else. Every time he touches me now, I flinch, not because I don't love him, but because my body remembers someone else's hands, hands I never wanted to remember, hands I should have stopped, and yet I didn't. Sometimes I wonder if I gave consent, or if I just gave up on myself, on the life I was building, on the idea that I was still worthy of love, because when they came to the door that night, I didn't just open it for them. I opened it to a version of me I didn't recognize. And now, I can't shut her out. I fake laughs now. I dodge conversations. I hide in chores and overcompensate in every small way I can think of, because I'm terrified he'll see it. The emptiness, the remorse, the truth, and you know what's worse, it's not just guilt. It's the feeling that I can't go back to who I was because I don't know where she went. She disappeared in the sound of their footsteps. In the breathless moments I didn't stop, in the silence that followed afterward. I get up every morning and try to love him like he deserves, but now I know something I didn't know before. Sometimes you can love someone and still betray them. Sometimes you can regret something and still do nothing to fix it. Because how do you fix something when the damage is buried inside you? You'd think time would numb it, that after a while the shame would fade, that I'd forget the smell of that night, the heat, the sounds I made that weren't mine, the way I left pieces of myself behind on a couch I never sat on again. But no, some memories don't fade. They etch themselves in your bones. They become part of the way you breathe. He still kisses me like I'm his whole world. He still brags about how lucky he is. He still texts me, dinner tonight, with a heart emoji. With trust, with love I don't deserve, and I reply, yes. Like nothing ever happened, like I'm not dying inside every time I lie to him with a smile. Sometimes I cry in the shower, not loud, not dramatic. Just quietly, like the guilt drips down with the water. I let it fall, and then I dry off, apply my makeup, and go back to pretending they left. They got what they came for. They probably don't even remember my name. But I'm here, still trapped in a memory they don't carry, but I do. Every single day. You see, people think cheating is about lust, about weakness, about passion. But sometimes it's just about emptiness. And once you fill that emptiness with the wrong thing, you never quite feel whole again. I wish I could say this story has a lesson, that I learned something, that I changed, but the truth is, I'm still figuring out how to live with a version of myself I never thought I'd become. Still learning how to wear her skin without collapsing under the weight of her choices. So if you're still watching, don't judge me, not because I don't deserve it, but because judgment is easy when you're not the one living in the silence. And some nights, when he's asleep beside me peaceful, unaware, I stare at the ceiling and wonder, what if I told him? What would he do? Would he leave? Would he cry? Would he scream? Or worse, would he just look at me with a kind of pain so quiet, so deep, it would undo me completely? I replay it all in my head every moment, every breath, every choice. Not because I miss it, but because I still can't understand why I didn't stop it, why I didn't run, why I let the door stay open, why I let them stay. You think infidelity is about the night it happens, but really it's about the mornings after, the months after, the life that keeps going like nothing broke, except you did, inside, quietly, permanently. There's no real ending to a story like mine. No redemption, no closure, just a woman living in a house that still feels like a home, but only because she pretends harder every day. I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself. I don't know if I deserve to. All I know is, they stayed for one night, but the version of me who let it happen, she never left. Sometimes, I wonder if he can feel it, not in my words, not in my eyes, but in the silence between us. The slight hesitation when I say I love you. The longer hugs, the harder kisses, like I'm trying to make up for something he doesn't even know he lost. I serve him dinner like nothing happened, fold his clothes, laugh at his jokes, lie with my eyes, not because I want to, but because the truth would destroy him, and maybe selfishly, I'm not ready to see him stop loving me. You think betrayal is loud, that it's shouting, slamming doors, breaking glass, but the worst kind of betrayal, it's quiet. It happens in whispers, in breathless moments, in looks you should have turned away from, in touches that should have ended before they began. They left, it was nothing to them, but for me, it was everything, a line I can never uncross. Now I carry it everywhere in my bones, in my dreams, in every moment of joy that suddenly feels like a sin. I used to think I was a good woman, a loyal wife, someone with principles, with strength. But one night, just one, and now, I don't even know who I am anymore. Sometimes I hear him breathing in his sleep, and I just stare, because he has no idea he's lying next to a stranger, and that's what breaks me the most, not what I did, but what I became. I used to look in the mirror and see someone I respected, someone my mother would have been proud of, a woman who loved hard, stayed loyal, and kept her vows. Now, I don't even know who's staring back. She wears my face, she speaks with my voice, but she's not me. Not the me I was before that night. People say everyone makes mistakes, but this wasn't a mistake. This was a decision. A slow, deliberate unraveling of everything I swore I believed in. And the worst part, it didn't feel wrong until after, the way one of them looked at me like I was something rare, like I wasn't just a wife, but a woman again, desired, noticed, wanted. For a second, I felt alive. But what's the cost of a moment like that? Everything. You pay for it with every heartbeat after. Now I flinch when my husband touches me, not because I don't love him, but because I do. And I don't know how to let someone so pure touch something so tainted. I clean the house like it'll scrub the guilt away. I overcook dinner hoping the smell masks the truth. I say I love you, louder now as if volume can drown out the lie underneath. But deep down, I know. He didn't lose me that night. I lost myself, and I don't know if I'll ever find her again. The woman who would have said no, the woman who would have shut the door, the woman who would have never let them stay. I hope she's still in there, somewhere, hiding beneath the wreckage, waiting to be forgiven. Even if no one ever says the words out loud, I hear things now, not real things, just echoes, phantom sounds. Footsteps when there are none, doors creaking that were never touched. His voice calling my name in a tone that makes my stomach drop. I know he doesn't know, but still, I brace for it, like every day could be the day he finds out. The way he looks at me across the table. Is it different? Did he hear something? Or is it just me? Projecting my guilt onto his silence. Sometimes I wish he'd just ask. Rip the bandage off, scream at me. Leave me, end it, because this slow death, this pretending it's worse. They only stayed a few hours, but what they left behind, it's still here, in this house, in this marriage, in this body I now hate looking at in the mirror. You don't realize what you've done until you're looking into the eyes of someone who loves you too much to suspect you're capable of this. That's the cruelest part of it all, his goodness, his trust. His soft love, it should have protected him, but I was the one who failed. People think cheating is physical, but it's spiritual. It's a soul wound, and it doesn't heal, it scabs, then reopens. Every time he tells me how lucky he is to have me, every time he kisses my forehead before bed, every time he whispers I love you, in the dark, I flinch, because I don't deserve it, not anymore.